them in my thing so I could have a look at them. Oh, okay, yeah. But then I was like, I have no clue still.
If I'm really hard, remember.
No, I'm serious. They'll listen like it might be like
I say the same thing.
They'll listen like it might sound one. They're like, oh yeah,
So
that's
wait,
right.
Where'd you get on that question? Oh, I remember now.
Guys, I'm
kidding.
serious. It wasn't like I'm gonna copy everything so I get it down. It was just like a, okay. I see it, but it was really like a. I don't even know.
What class is this?
Well, she even looked at me before the test. She was like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, yeah, the assignment sheets were so different. I didn't follow the slides like
I don't know. There's a lot on the sheets that I got on the test.
Really?
I always get test A. I feel like test A is a lot easier every time.
I always felt like test B was for like the dumb people. And I always get test B. I always have.
Is it easy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
How's everybody? Did you guys have a good break?
Sure.
Yeah. Did you work hard? On our announcements page, there's a link to our permanent Zoom link. And I'm going to try to record our session using Zoom. So if you have to be absent, I'll try to get it posted. It's not a good way because it can take me a really long time, but I'll try to post them. So since we're starting on Word, we're getting a little different than what we've been so far in the semester. We'll get all started with everything, but if you can join in our Zoom session first. Now, once you've got that link, I'm going to copy it here. If you go to the desktop, which it won't let me do when I'm recording. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. You can right-click and choose New and choose Shortcut. And then you can paste Control-V, that Zoom URL into that shortcut if you would like. I had some extra stuff from copying it, so I got rid of it. If you notice my Zoom link, it's just my phone number at OTC. So that's what it should end up looking like. It's like a phone number in that last section of the URL. Then you can click Next and just name it, permanent Zoom link or whatever you want to call it. And then that way you guys can interact if there's something going on. Raise your hand, tell me what's wrong. You can just yell it out too. Either way is fine. Okay, so then let's look at our home page. I've updated it again. So now we're looking at week 8, 9, and 10, which are our Word sections. So tell me, how many of you have had Word classes before, like in school? Yeah, I know. That's why I wondered what kind of classes you had. Okay, be sure to look around, help each other. So probably what's going to be most challenging to you is SAM, not necessarily the Word assignments themselves, but getting SAM to grade things appropriately and things like that. So we're going to try to get in there together and make sure SAM is doing things the way we want. So our first chapter is actually Word 1. What I'm going to do is click up here on this link for our SAM textbook module. And I want to open the Shelley Cashman Discovering Computers textbook. And this is our textbook that will have all of our stuff from here on out. We won't have any references to that Technology Now book. They're in our past. So just Discovering Computers. I've got it open already. I'm going to try to close it. So when you open that, we'll be in this Word section. So we're starting out this week with Word Module 1. So I wanted to open the textbook and show you how we're going to try things to see if it works well for us. Every chapter of this Word stuff, this Word unit, has a chapter project. And in that chapter project, they show you all of the things or ask you to do the things that they're going to have you do in the final project. So the way SAM really works when you're using Word, PowerPoint, and Excel is they're going to give you a download file, like a starting point file. And you have to name that properly, then use that file to do all of the project requirements that they give you, and then upload that file when you're done. And then Sam will auto grade it. So once we get this one done today, we'll look at our grade so that you can see how Sam does that, or where you can find out how it disagreed with you about whether you had done it correctly or not. So for each chapter, there's a chapter project. So I went ahead and made that chapter project worth a small amount of points for us. And I thought, we'll try to run through that chapter project together, make sure everybody's clear on what the project requirements are. And then for this Friday especially, your SAM project will be what we'll work on in class. So it'll be kind of a lab day for you to work on that SAM project. So let's go back to our homepage. And on our homepage, and you can go to modules too, this would also be available on modules. We want this Word 1 Practice SAM textbook project. So if you click on that, it should take you to the standard link where it's going to open SAM in a new window. Say OK. Now, this is how it'll look when you go to do any of these SAM projects. It'll tell you you're going to do this SAM project. It's from the Cengage textbook. So we want to read the instructions really carefully. It says textbook projects are not graded as assessments. So you will have to watch and make sure your grade comes across appropriately for these chapter projects. We'll see. And then I have the solution file because I'm an instructor. You guys probably don't see that. But what we want to do is download the start file template. So that very first item where it has start file template, let's download that. Is it not showing you that? What's it showing you? Okay, we're gonna have to put somebody up here. Who would share their screen on our Zoom session so that it can look like a student? Will you do that? Okay, so find that share option in Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and find that share link on Zoom and see if you can share your screen.
And click that. What do I click then?
We'll get you. Maybe.
What do I do? Same here. Am I you guys? Okay, so I'm there. Push open. Okay, I said that, and you guys said no. Okay, Tyler, is this where I'm at? Because this doesn't look like this. Oh, I push start, and then it gets.
Where are you? I don't see you. Did you do it?
Hey, we got you there, so.
Not seeing it.
There. You guys could have said, yeah, your own user there. We got you.
Are you see? Is anybody seeing it? I might just not be seeing it.
Share screen.
And then choose the one right up in the corner that's like your main screen. Now, can you guys see his screen? See if you can see Tom's screen in your Zoom session. Okay, Tom's gonna try to take over here so his screen will look more like yours. Now if I can just get it up here on the projector. Ah, there it is. Maybe. Move over here. Okay, I'm gonna exit. See. All right, how's that? That's better. Does that look more like yours?
Yes.
We'll just let him do all the work here then. I'll just run around, make sure everybody's got what they need. That was kind of what I wanted to do anyways. Okay, so we're gonna download from that download link. Now, whenever you get this option, do you want to open or save? Be really aware of where your start file is going, because some of them, they're going to ask you to rename it after you get it downloaded. And so you might not want it to go straight to your download folder. Just decide how you want to control it and make sure you do exactly what they say with it. Since this is our textbook project, it's not giving us those kinds of instructions. So we can just open our file, but we want to make sure that we get it saved. Go ahead and enable editing. Looks pretty new. Is that how everybody's looks? No?
Where did you get the link?
Can't find the link. We'll get it.
So like.
So go back to Canvas and click on home.
Yeah. This is real. Why don't you show flyer? Yeah.
Okay.
There.
I was in
I'm down. I'm not here.
All right. So everybody's got their document. Can you find it? We did move Tom out of our way just here for a second. Doing so great. To look at our textbook. Now, the very first thing in our chapter talks about running Word and specifying settings. So since this is the first time that we've run Word on these computers, we might want to change some of our settings. They tell us to run Word and create a blank document. Well, we've already done that. We've downloaded the file. Now, if the Word window is not maximized, click the Maximize button on the title bar to maximize the window. Then next, if the Print Layout button on the status bar down at the bottom is not selected, click it so that your screen is in Print Layout view. Now I'm going to try to move him back over here. And we're talking about down here at the bottom. And as you mouse over these different views, it should tell you what they are. And we want Print Layout, which you are already in. Now, make sure you take a look at those different layout views, because things can look really weird to you when you open Word if they're not set properly. There are some quick Q&A type things here in the textbook if you want to go through those as you are looking at things. Let's see. If normal home tab styles group is not selected in the styles gallery, click it so that your document uses the normal style. And if I bring his over, you'll see here's our gallery up there, and he's got normal clicked, that very first item with all of the ABC stuff. So that looks perfect. Sometimes it can be harder to follow the instructions than to just do things, right? Okay, there's some videos on entering text and correcting mistakes and typos and selecting text. I think everybody is pretty good with that. But we want to enter some text. So, of course, Word is always going to position your insertion point at the left margin. In a later section, we'll look at formatting or changing the appearance of the entered text. So we want to type in a heading that's going to say Surf's Up. And let me bring up our end document. This is what our document is going to look like in the end. This kind of flyer. So we're going to have a page border. We're going to have this big heading title. We're going to have an image in the middle and some text that is kind of informational stuff for the flyer. So our Surf's Up flyer here is the one we're going to create with this empty document. So we want to type in Surf's Up as our heading. They say, after you press enter, of course your insertion point will be moved to the next line. Now, one thing that we want to try while we're in SAM that you guys may have seen, you may not. It's kind of one of those things you just never know. Let me get Tom back over here. He's looking at the document. And what we'd like to try, go ahead and type Surf's Up there. I think just Surf's Up exclamation point. And then press enter. Now, whenever we're using Word, why do we get a blank line like that after we press enter? Does that mean something? Huh?
You're ready to begin the next line.
You're just ready to begin the next line. Now, we know that we have to go back up and select that preceding line if we want to change it. But what about looking at the formatting characters? Have you ever looked at the different formatting characters in Word? Up in your toolbar, the backwards P that has the black kind of in the paragraph mark, that's a toggle option. So if you turn it on, it's going to show the formatting characters to you in Word. If you turn it off, it's going to make those formatting characters disappear. Whenever you can see the formatting characters, then you know exactly what's going on in Word and you know how to rearrange things. So if you've ever tried to use any templates, like the resume template, things like that, that kind of jump around and you can't get it formatted exactly the way you want. If you show these formatting characters, then you can always get things set exactly the way you want because you're kind of seeing the invisible parts of what's going on there. So we want to show our formatting characters just for a moment. Let me get this moved out of the way here. I'm going to get this around here. So when we're looking at those formatting characters, we see that formatting mark, and that backwards P indicates a paragraph. And of course, every time we press enter, we get a new paragraph. A raised dot is going to show you where you typed the space bar. So try it if you've not used the formatting characters before, because it really does make a big difference in how usable Word is to you. Press tab, see what kind of formatting mark you get from the tab key. And as you try some different ones, then you can get familiar with what those formatting characters are and get everything lined up exactly the way you want it. So it really does help a lot. That's one thing for me. I'm really happy that Sam shows you how to do this, because we can have students that have used Word for years, but they didn't know that they could get to these formatting characters and get everything set exactly the way they want. So that's a good thing. Now our paragraph mark at the end of our line just indicates that someone's pressed enter. We would also see a paragraph mark at the end of a document. Have you ever seen anybody print a document that had a page and then a blank page, and they print it 50 times, and so they get 50 blank pages? This is all they would need to do to get rid of that blank page, is show these formatting characters and delete that extra paragraph mark at the end of their document so that they don't have that stupid blank page popping out every time they print. So we'll get smarter than it is and know that that's something we have to worry about. Now, if you don't want, of course, you're done with your formatting marks, you can just turn it off. That's fine. And be sure to turn off those formatting characters before you email your Word document to somebody, because since they don't talk about it a lot, it can really throw a lot of people. Now, if you want to turn them back on just for a minute, let's try a blank line. Just drive you crazy here. So press enter a couple of times and notice how you get that paragraph mark showing up for all of the different times that you've inserted a blank line. So it's really helpful. Now, how do we zoom our page width? They want us to enlarge the contents that appear on the screen. You'd like the text on the screen to be larger so that it's easier to read. The document currently displays at 100%, but with Word, you can zoom the page width. So how do you do it? Select your View tab. He's already on it. You can click on Zoom. You can click that amount and just change it to zoom to a specific percent. You can also use Control Scroll with your wheel on your mouse. Want to affect it that way, you should be able to wheel it. They ask us to click on the View tab, and then there's a question, why did the groups on the ribbon change? It says, when you switch from one tab to another on the ribbon, the groups on the ribbon change to show commands related to the selected tab. You guys are all doing that without even thinking about it. That's good. So if you change the zoom, does that affect the way the document prints? No. What about the other zoom options? Would that affect the way anything prints? No, it's just you're viewing it on the screen. Now, word wrap is the capability that Word has that allows you to just type along and Word will automatically go to the next line. So you can turn off your formatting characters. I don't think they're going to make us use them anymore. But if you've ever watched anybody type that doesn't allow Word to use word wrap, you know it can be a really painful process. They get to the end of the line and press enter because they learned how to type using a typewriter, or they never were explained how Word will automatically wrap for them. So we don't want to do that, because every time we press enter, we get that paragraph formatting symbol, which means format this as a separate paragraph. So if we see someone that's pressing enter after each line they type, they're actually creating multiple paragraphs according to Word. So things aren't going to format properly because it's all too many paragraphs. We can zoom by using the zoom slider on the status bar down at the bottom too. Press there on Tom's screen, you can see a lot of different things. Okay, so our first long sentence that we're going to type in our document here is this one. Learn to surf or improve your form and skills on the waves through expert instructions from our award-winning surf school. Now, they want you to think about why your document would wrap on different words than the example. And that's an important point, because sometimes yours might not look exactly the same, and it could just be a zoom setting. It might not be anything to do with something that would actually be graded. Now, as we're typing text in Word, Word is checking for spelling and grammar errors. If all the words you typed are in Word's dictionary and your grammar is correct, the spelling and grammar check icon on the status bar displays a check mark. Otherwise, the icon shows an X. Does Word give you any sort of wavy lines on yours? If you type your sentence. We're making him do all this hard typing here. Let me put this up here so you can see it. If you can stick up here. He's getting it for us. So we know we're going to get that red squiggly line if we have a spelling error. We're going to get that green kind of squiggly line if we have some sort of error where it doesn't like our grammar. So always watch those really closely, because if you have trouble as a speller, sometimes, of course, Word can't tell if a word is spelt right, but it's the wrong version of the word, the wrong synonym. So the grammar check will try to catch those kinds of things for you. Who's got it? Now, down at the bottom, do you see the little status bar check mark they're talking about? Right down here, that little teeny one beside where it says 20 words, there's a little teeny check mark on that book there that's showing that everything passed successfully. Now, they say the blue wavy line is going to be what's going to show you contextual spelling errors, like which problems, where you've used the wrong which word. So it'll try to point those out to you. As you type, Word automatically corrects some misspelled words. So if it autocorrects and you don't want it to, if you changed it again, it'll ignore it the second time. So now, under that first sentence, let's add our next heading. That's going to be the word private or goop. And they want you to misspell group is goop so that you can see the spelling error. And be watching down there on that little corner area for that little teeny X that's showing you there's a possible spelling or grammar mistake. It's very small. So we wanted to say private or goop right under our first sentence that we've put in. And of course, we get our spelling error, so we can right-click and choose the correct spelling. We could also ignore everywhere that word appears in our document or add it to our dictionary, depending on what we need to do with it. And then your flagged word should get corrected. Now, some other ways we can get to the spelling check. On the toolbar, we can click, where am I? We can click spelling and grammar check on the status bar. So wherever that little check mark is down there with that little book, you can click on that icon and that'll force it to do a spelling or a grammar check if you want to. Awesome.
I think it's like F7 on the keyboard, does it too?
Does it too?
I think it's F7.
We'll have to ask you for all of those shortcut keys. Okay, so now we're going to enter the rest of our text. And the first thing that they want us to try is to press the end key to move to the end of the current line. Now, I don't know what line they're on. Do you think we're on that previous line where we entered our private or goop? Probably. But notice the end key can take you to the end of the line and the home key will take you to the beginning. F7 will do a spell check. Try to get all of our different keystrokes here. Okay, so now they want us to add in a little bit more for the rest of this document. We're going to add the word lessons after that word group. So once we got that spelt right. We want that to say private or group lessons. Then we want to press enter to go to a new paragraph and have our text say photo and video packages available. And then press enter and type reef, shoes, and surfboard rental included. Then we want to press enter again, and we're going to type our signature line at the bottom, or at least at the end of all of that text, to sign up for a lesson called 555-surf, exclamation point. So this is what we should be seeing now. We don't have any sort of special formatting going on in our document so far. We just have the text entered. Let's see if I can zoom in there a little bit. I'd like surf lessons. That's important. Okay, if it's looking awesome, let's keep going here. Now this has some good information for us that is kind of outside of Word, just kind of things to think about. When we're working with a flyer like this, the things that are important should be organized. The headline should be the first line of text, and it should convey the product or service. The body has the text, of course, between the headline and the signature. And this should be the key points of the message in as few words as possible. And that's super important. If you've ever seen anybody post any flyers, just even out on the bulletin board, nobody's going to read it if it's got a whole paragraph worth of text in the middle. So it's not all just about Word as far as word processing. We also need to think about what we should do to create an effective document. The signature line should contain contact information or a call to action. So depending on what we're trying to do there. Now, some navigational controls as you're working with Word. Of course, the left and right arrow take you left and right one character. If you press the control key while you're doing left and right arrow, you'll go a word at a time. So try that. If you want to go up and down a line, of course, you'll press the up and down arrow. But if you want to go to the end of the line, you can press the end key, the beginning of a line, the home key. If you want to go up one paragraph, you could do control up arrow, and go down one paragraph, control down arrow. The control keys with the arrows are ones that I always forget, and they would be really helpful. Now we can also scroll, of course, with our mouse and with our wheel. So make sure you're going up and down in the direction that you want to go. And let's do some formatting of our paragraphs. We're going to be formatting these paragraphs to make things the way we want them. There's a whole bunch of videos. So if you have trouble, you can watch those if you need them. But we want to do some formatting here of all of our fancy stuff. First of all, paragraph formatting is the process of changing the appearance of a paragraph. Character formatting is the process of changing the way characters appear on the screen and in print. You use character formatting to emphasize certain words and improve readability. You can color, italicize, or underline characters. Now remember that we want to be careful of preventing wrist injuries. So you want to minimize switching between your keyboard and your mouse. If your hand is already on the mouse, use mouse gestures to scroll. If your hand is already on the keyboard, then use keyboard keys to scroll. If you're already on the screen, then use touchscreen capabilities to scroll. Okay, so we want to make our flyer look all done so we can upload it to Sam and see how this is going to work, if it's going to let us score it or not. So the first thing, take a look at all of your defaults on your home ribbon. So in our home ribbon, they say Calibri, I'm not sure how to say that, is our default font. Our default size is 11. Previous versions of Word, the default font was 12 and it was like Times New Roman. So you can kind of see a little bit of difference, but that's about all that's changed. Now, what we want to do is, we need to talk real quickly about the width of each of our characters. If we're using a true type font, then different characters are going to be different widths. So a W is going to be wider than the letter I. Now, there are some fonts like Arial and some others that aren't true type that don't have that issue. So depending on what kind of document you're working on, that might be important to you. Now, for a flyer, they say some of the things for us to consider: increasing the font size of characters, changing the font, changing the alignment so that we see some differences in where things are, highlighting paragraphs with bullets, emphasizing important words, and using color. You know, all of those things are really important. So let's go to our home ribbon and click somewhere in the headline paragraph, because they would like it to be centered. So I'm going to go back to Tom here, and anywhere in our Surf's Up line, just that one is the only one we want, just Surf's Up. So just anywhere in that line, click that center button so that it centers that text. And then, of course, if you want to return it to left aligned, you could very easily do that. Now, some other ways. You could right-click that paragraph and click Paragraph on the shortcut menu, click Indents and Spacing, click the alignment arrow, and click Centered. That sounds yucky. You could also click the Paragraph Settings dialog box launcher, which is the Home tab or the Layout tab, click Indents and Spacing, click Alignment, click Center. Or you could do the really easy one, press Control-E. That would be the easiest for centering. And I don't know why E is centered, I guess because of center, centered in the middle. Okay, so in the flyer, the signature line is to be centered to match the paragraph alignment of the headline. So let's go down to your signature line. Yeah, sorry, the textbook kind of went off there for a second. It's talking about weird things. So we want our signature line to be centered.
I can't see what you're doing when I'm doing this.
I know, sorry. You're doing great. You just yell if you need me to put something someplace, and I will. I think you're doing awesome. Now the screen and the ribbon can change on Word. So depending on what kind of device you're using, it could be that Word is trying to fit things on a mobile screen or on a smaller screen resolution. So don't worry, those options are still there. You might just have to go to that More Options option to find them because they can be hidden away from you. Now they say the default size of 11 is too small for a headline and a flyer. So let's increase the font size of that headline. Select the text. Then we want to go up to, oh, there you are. He's got that mini screen. That's what they're wanting you to find, is that little mini font screen dialog box. And we want to go to 72. Wow. So what is live preview? That's where you can choose different items that are on your ribbons and have it show automatically in a live mode to you how that update is going to look. And they want you to remember live preview is not available on a mobile screen.
Where's live preview?
It's where anything you do, it automatically shows what it's going to look like to you. So if you mouse over any of these different styles up there in our style box, it'll just automatically show you what that's going to look like without you having to apply that setting. So that's the live preview that you might not be able to see. And it could make you think something's wrong if you can't see it. So we were looking at that really small font option. Let's select that text again, our Surf's Up text. And how do we bring up the font gallery? The font gallery is kind of bigger, isn't it? Let's go up to font up here on our ribbon and click the down arrow, the drop down kind of in the corner. So you're perfect, but close that one back. And see this little teeny down one up right in the corner over here. That's the one, perfect. And that's our full font dialog box, and that gives us the maximum capabilities in changing our font as far as setting things to strike through or all of those kinds of awesome things, whatever we want. But our font gallery dialog box gives us the most capability. They would like us to choose Rockwell Extra Bold. And then also try just pointing at different fonts to watch that live preview and notice how it's giving you the option to see what you want. Do choose Rockwell Extra Bold. And then we would like to make this Surf's Up text. Oh yeah, we have to go back to our 72. And we'd like to make this Surf's Up text be all uppercase. That went up to 90 now. Yeah, that's just increasing the size. Go back to your main font dialog up in that one that you have to click on that little corner icon. And then you should be able to go to uppercase, all caps. Beautiful. So good. Okay, so let's apply an effect. We want to look at our Surf's Up heading again. And in our font section of our screen, we want the text effects and typography button. Yes, the white outline, which shadow accent to. And of course, you can try some different various effects to see how things are working, but let's use that one as our choice. And then we'd like to shade it. So when you shade text, word colors the rectangular area behind any text or graphics. If the text to shade is in a paragraph, word shades the area from the left margin to the right margin. So to shade a paragraph, place the insertion point in the paragraph. Click somewhere in the paragraph to be shaded, which is our first paragraph, so anywhere in there. And then click the shading arrow. And the shading arrow is the little paint can icon. Go a little further over where it's in our paragraph tools. And you see it, and do the drop down there, and that's our shading tool. And we want to pick orange, accent 2, darker 25%. Yeah, I think it's the second one to the bottom. That looks right. Perfect. Let's save that. And we'll finish up next time. So make sure you save it to your H drive. I would save it to your documents folder, which is your H drive. And if you have a folder set up for CIS101, save it there. And right now, this the file name, new Microsoft Word document _ in your name should be an acceptable file name. So if it's saved in the downloads folder, make sure you save it to your H drive so you'll be able to get to it again next time. So next time we'll finish it up and submit it to Sam so that you can see again how picky Sam is. Because I know if I gave you this document and told you guys to create it just from looking at it, you would be able to, but you wouldn't be able to get the exact specific items that Sam is going to be checking. So hopefully we can submit this and then look at the score report so that we can get down exactly what Sam wants and not have it be a problem for you guys as we go. Sometimes it's that way where what you're learning you already know, and it's the tool that makes it impossible. So those look great. I'm going to end our Zoom meeting. Thank you, sir, for driving.